So welcome back. I'm back here with Randal and Lyndal, and I have a question that actually I know you've experienced before, and that's about how best to navigate a disconnect between senior and mid-level managers.
That is a really interesting question, and we're often called in when there's that disconnect. And the interesting part to it is the inference from senior leaders is that the problem is with the mid-level leaders or managers, that somehow they're okay, and if we can just shift something about that middle group, and quite often they're described as being negative or resistant, somehow they're the problem.
Yeah, I think it's like that argument you have with your partner where, as you say, it's not you, it's me. They need to start saying that it's not you, it's me. Maybe it's the executive's fault and not the middle manager's fault. Maybe.
Yeah.
So how can you get that across if you are trying to talk to a senior manager and saying it actually may not be the mid-level managers who are at fault?
Very carefully. What do you think?
Look, I think before... I think a message which we've given in other videos is you really need to understand the context and you need to know what is going on. So I think there is a little bit of analysis and understanding. I think it's speaking to both groups and it's really drawing a very objective perspective. If you sense that perhaps the disconnect may be on both sides, not just really one side being the problem, then I think there's some pre-work which needs to be done. And that pre-work is helping people to understand about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So particularly the senior leaders, please don't embark on this program if you don't want to hear something unexpected, because there may be something that you need to do as well. So I think, and you often talk about goals as a starting point.
So look, there's only been, I can think of only one experience in my consulting career where I've actually had a rebellious management group. Most people in organisations want to do the right thing by the organisation. They want to advance the organisation and do what the executives want them to do. So I think there is a real intent to do it. The trouble is that they have a difficulty sometimes in achieving what's being required of them. So I think it's important for an executive to actually spend some time with their middle management in planning about how they go about the change or the strategy or whatever it might be. Talk about what are our goals. Are our goals shared? Do we understand what those goals are? What are the barriers to achieving those goals? Not just as an organisation, but for each of the groups that you've got within your organisation, what are the barriers that they've got to actually making the changes? And then work together to actually surmount those barriers so that we can all work towards those goals that are common.
Yeah, look, I've worked with a number of companies on this, and sometimes the issue isn't as grand as the strategy. Sometimes they just want to improve the way they do things. So as an example of it was a government agency who really saw that there was the mid-level saw that there were better ways to do things, and there was a disconnect with the senior leaders and how to go about that. So I think goals is one way to look at it, but I actually think agreeing the problem statement. So I think sometimes it doesn't have to be a goal. Sometimes it's let's agree the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a credibility gap there because the executives are perceived by middle management sometimes to be doing it in their own interest because they're going to get bonuses or because there's a political imperative to do it rather than operational imperative. So there has to be some sort of discussion and dialogue around that.
So it's really about collaboration.
Yeah, and I think collaboration, absolutely, but I think the setup is really important. When there's a disconnect, it's not a program that you would roll out 3 workshops and it would be the answer. I think there is some very clear understanding. There's that clarity of the problem statement. I think there's an understanding of unexpected and vulnerability, and there might be a little bit about building trust in order to break down some of those barriers.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I hope that was helpful. We'll leave some links down below if you want to read any further, but thank you for watching.